project was a little bit, what should I do? And I asked several students, what do you do? Do you follow the World Cup? And many of them said, yes, for sure. I have another team. You know, I follow the Football World Cup and I cheer for some other teams. So, and I thought, okay, why do they do this? This might be a good project because if you analyze fandom in sports, you always analyze fandom as your first team, your best player, the team you like, your nation, you know, US people following the US national team. But what happens if the US national team is not there? And suddenly before the World Cup, like 2, 3, 4 weeks before the World Cup, there were 3 marketing campaigns on US television. I will show you, very funny. This is the first one. It's called Root for Your Roots. Maybe you remember this.
Can you feel it? You're connected to the World Cup. It's in your DNA. You may not speak the language or have visited the country. You may not know their heroes. But we're all connected to a World Cup nation through our DNA. So this summer, root for your roots. Watch the FIFA World Cup on Fox and let Fox broadcast sponsor 23andMe help you find your team.
Very funny. So this was the start of our new research project. A US TV channel is rooting for your roots and is connected to a survey where you can analyze your DNA to get your roots in your body. Very crazy. And 1 week later, this started. It's Volkswagen. You know this.
America, sorry you're not in the tournament. Consider rooting for Belgium. After all, we host the world's biggest electronic dance festival. That's Hans, my lighting guy.
Iceland could really use your support. We don't have enough people to do the wave. See?
Cheer for Germany. We gave you the Frankfurter.
Whatever team you choose, it's time to jump on the wagon. Brought to you by Volkswagen and America's best bumper-to-bumper limited warranty.
So a very good example for marketing the Football World Cup without having any player or any team in the Football World Cup. So Volkswagen was very successful with this campaign, Jump on the Wagon. And a very unsuccessful campaign is the last example I have had here. You know, maybe Landon Donovan. Okay, this was his campaign.
The big tournament is just about to kick off, but not everyone's team is going, and that's okay. Wells Fargo and I are inviting anyone in need of a team to root for to join us in cheering for the Mexican national team. Vamos, Mexico.
This has been a very unsuccessful marketing campaign. Vamos Mexico, many people in the US doesn't like this campaign, so I understand, but you know, 3 campaigns on what team do you root for if you don't have a team. I have to be a little bit theoretical, so you know, fandom is a well-known thing in sports communication research. But if you see the literature, you always see fandom as a first team fandom or your player, the big stars, you know. I will not go through this because I'm competing to Thursday Night Football, but if you are interested, this is a lot of first fandom, you can say, and that's why we invented what we called secondary fandom. And we used social identity theory. Social identity theory is a very good concept, Teifel and Turner, and they explained how people combined in groups promote their self-esteem and their self-consciousness. So there are various motivations why you are identify with yourself, and sport is one very big one for this self-identification. You know, of these die-hard fans and, you know, of fair weather fans. Hopefully, die-hard fans means I will cheer for my team whatever will happen, and fair weather fandom means I will share for the most successful team. You know, I will skip every team you like. So, but all these is just your first team and your first player. So we asked in our research project what happens when you don't have a team. What we have done is we asked research questions of highly identified fans are more likely to become secondary fans, or will these secondary fans be driven by the interest of sport or by team identification. So we do have a lot of questions on how is secondary fandom applied? What kind of factors drive secondary fandom? We have used the Football World Cup and the US, okay, because I was in the US and you don't have a team. And we did 2 different parts for our for our survey. So first, we have done an interview session, in-depth interviews to get some factors how people are, choosing their second team. And afterwards, we did an online survey with Amazon Turk. Maybe you've heard of this. We did this in the US, in Italy. Team doesn't qualify for the World Cup. In England and Germany, 2 very good soccer teams, and both qualified for the World Cup. We did a first part of the survey before the World Cup starts in June, and a second part after the semifinals, so when the tournament is ongoing and your team may be lost and you have to choose another second team. So I've done these qualitative interviews with some students and with some adults in Bloomington, Indiana. I talked to them about how do you choose your team, and the main reasons they answered me were family ties. My brother has some daughter in Germany, so I'm cheering for Germany, ancestry. Individual links to an area, to a nation, to a club. So I'm cheering for Real Madrid. So as a US guy, I'm choosing Spain because this is a Spanish club. Easy decision. So disliking, no reason against, underdogs. So many people like to cheer for teams or for people. It's easy. There's no thing to think against them. So, they are not the big stars. It's easy to cheer for Iceland. Iceland, small country, not successful. Everyone likes them, so it's easy to cheer for them. So this was a very, very big thing. Individual players, so the big superstars, you cheer for Portugal because of Cristiano Ronaldo, or you cheer for Lionel Messi and Argentina and the style of play. So this has been the main reasons they told me for doing secondary fandom. So very short overview, highly identified fans are more likely to become secondary fans. So if you are really into the game, you are more likely to become a secondary fandom guy. So you choose your second team. Team identification and motivations to consume sport were the main drivers along these fans for secondary fandom. So we used several scales. I don't want to bother you with all these theoretical. So we used a team identification scale and a sport motivation scale to analyze these factors. Liking a certain player, liking a team style of play, this is more, the second level of elements. So they were not very big named in the survey. And really interesting is the strong dislike of another specific team. So you cheer, as a secondary fandom, you cheer for a team if you like their opponents. Most of the US people cheered for the teams who beat the nation who throws the US out of the World Cup. So, disliking this team. It's maybe, I think it's Dallas Cowboys in the US, you don't like them very often. So it's easy to not cheer for them. So this is disliking, spiting. Ugh, I don't like this. So this was a very funny research project, and we still like this concept of secondary fandom. We proved it afterwards at the Super Bowl with both of the teams for the Super Bowl, and you always have secondary fandom in every sporting event. So I'm a little bit, we never published this really big. We have to do this still, but yes, it's one of the big research projects I did combined to the Football World Cup. So I had to say 2 other things. So second part, stars of the Football World Cup. I always introduce you to some stars of the Football World Cup. I thought to myself, today I will use a player who is not very, one of these big guys, players, not one of the big guys, but he's quite interesting because he's maybe the starting point of really Football World Cup marketing. Do you ever heard of Albert Roger Moo Miller? No. Okay, we call him Roger Miller. You can definitely see he's a player from Africa, from Cameroon, the Lions. And he's one of the first African players to be the major stars of this international big event, Football World Cup. He competed in 3 different World Cups. He competed in 1994 in the US for the Cameroon national team. By the way, he was the oldest player ever compete in a Football World Cup. He scored at the age of 42 in the Football World Cup in the US a goal against Russia. So he gets very famous during his career as a player. And he was really a very good player and the first African player. So he's maybe the biggest African hero in soccer forever. But he's also a marketing star. So what he's done, when he shoots a goal, he was going to this corner and dance, like, you know, African people like to dance, and he's doing this dancing at the corner. So he gets very famous at the first World Cup he played for dancing and celebrating his goals in a very unconventional way. And this is what happened.
Goal in a way no one had ever seen before, by dancing. After that, goal celebrations went mad.
It surrounds us, every nation, all around us. Forever young, singing songs underneath the sun. Let's rejoice in the beautiful game. And together at the end of the day, we all say, when I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. So wave your flag, and wave your flag, and wave your when I get older.
So, 20 years later, let's give it up for Roger, the man who showed the world how to celebrate.
So maybe Roger Miller is in European countries most of all remembered for doing a marketing campaign with Coca-Cola. And, you know, he was inventing a very typical and a very important thing for football, for soccer. So cheering and celebrating your goal, which is, you know, right now one of the main things players, they try to do different celebration ways for each goal, and they change the way of celebration with every team and every game. Sometimes they use their celebration to promote themselves as an e-sport guy, like they're doing the Fortnite goal celebration. So this is really, Roger Miller started with his celebration of goals, a real fandom and, you know, living football in the early 90s. So his first World Cup was 1990. So this is very interesting because this is maybe the start of the big marketing campaign of Coca-Cola and celebration of goals. Now you see, you know, sticking cards with goal celebrations all over Europe. It's a big thing. And Coca-Cola used this for a marketing campaign at the 2010 World Cup in Africa. This is what I showed you today. Okay, 5 more minutes. Okay, I'm competing with Thursday Night Football. So I do have a last assignment for my class today. I told them, okay, this will be very heavy. No, I'm kidding. So I like us all to do football. You call this bracketology. So I learned in the US this is a very important thing. And I put all the teams competing at the 2022 Football World Cup together. I hope you all know November, December this year, the Football World Cup will be based in Qatar. A very discussed Football World Cup, but here you see the different teams and the different groups. May I ask you which you think is the most difficult group to play? And who of these teams, which of these teams will be the baddest opponent of the US? Okay, it's interesting. They're playing England, English speaking. They're playing Wales, English speaking, and they're playing Iran. So not a nice competition versus Iran. So this is a quite interesting group happening in B. My team, Germany, is playing in a very tough group with Spain, Costa Rica, and Japan. If you are a little bit into soccer, Spain, they are good all the time. They are good. You can go to every World Cup. They are good. Costa Rica, they are good too. We don't like them to play. They are very tough. And you have to be number 1 or number 2 in the group. So please remember these groups. This is the way to play. I will not bother you, but I will bother you with this. Football World Cup prediction. I will try to use for us all together the Football World Cup prediction of the Daily Telegraph in the US. I hope it works, yes. So, wait a moment. This is tough. Maybe we can do this together, okay? How can I? So, we have to go through all groups and you're going to tell me who will be the first nation after the group stage. Come on, do this. First group. Ghana and the Netherlands 1. And then? Ghana is not playing this group. Senegal, Ecuador, Qatar. Senegal? Ecuador? Qatar loses. Okay, Group B. England, Iran, USA. USA? Come on. Wales, and we all think Iran will lose the group, yes? Okay. Next group C. Argentina? Okay. Mexico? Number 3? Poland. Lewandowski, yes. Group D. Oh, this seems very clear. France? Denmark? Australia, Tunisia. My group? I don't ask you. Okay.
So is that the group of death? E, is that the group of death right there?
For us, yes. So, Belgium? Too late. Group D, Group G? Brazil?
The Indomitable Lions of Cameroon.
Cameroon? Roger Miller? Serbia or Switzerland? Serbia. You're very, Switzerland is very good. I'm sorry. Group H, Portugal? Uruguay?
I'm going Ghana.
Ghana?
Well, Portugal 1, Ghana 2.
Okay. So Uruguay 3. Okay. Let's move on to round of 16. USA. Oh, first we have Netherlands, England. England?
Wow, that's a great.
Argentina, Denmark? Argentina. USA, Senegal? Oh, France, Mexico? France? Oh, wait a moment. Germany, Canada? No question. Brazil, Portugal? Ah. Belgium, Spain? I hear two different things. Spain? Okay, my German colleague is a very famous expert, Spain. And Ghana, Cameroon. You decided this. Okay. No. Quarterfinals, England, Argentina. Do you remember 7-1 2014? So, USA, France? Spain, Cameroon. Okay. We are close to. Argentina, Germany. Yeah, I told you on Tuesday we win every time against Argentina. So. Okay.
We're not going to win it until 26.
Last assignment.
Well, who else?
This has been my prediction. Okay, you can do it by yourself. And the second link I put on the slide is you have to predict every game in goals. So this is quite tough, and it takes a long time. But I just wanted us to do this very short. We decided Spain. What will happen if Spain is really winning the World Cup? Is free beer forever? Okay, so this is has been my last assignment for, I have to close this. My last assignment for my class today. So thanks very much for having me here in Nebraska, Lincoln. This was really fun teaching and talking to many classes and many students. So this was great fun and a great experience for me. I'd like to say thank you very much. And yeah, go Huskers. Any questions? I'm not answering questions who will win the World Cup.
I'll rephrase the question then. Is Germany good enough to win the World Cup?
I will not answer any questions to the Football World Cup.
Thank you, Coach Belichick.
Question to the World Cup? Okay, is the US good enough to reach quarterfinals?
Sure. Yes. No.
Okay, so a serious question. I'm very interested. Which team do you cheer for if the US doesn't, be alive after group stage? Which team is your secondary fandom? And why? So ancestry, family ties to Germany. It's one of these big, big reasons to cheer for another team. Is anyone cheering for Mexico? I'm sorry, China is not attending. So serious questions on secondary fandom or Twitter analysis or something like this. Yeah.
How much do you think playing the World Cup so out of sequence in the middle of the world where it's hot and in November will impact the tournament? Because they've never really done it this way before.
This will be a big, 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 and another big impact. So this is crazy. To give you an explanation, so my country and many, many European countries are very soccer countries, and I told my class, we are used to follow soccer games, especially at the Football World Cup or European Championships, outside in front of big, big public viewing screens, what we call public viewing. So when the German team is playing, there are about 500,000 people in Berlin outside in front of a very big screen, partying and following the game. In November and December, it's mostly rainy, cold outside, sometimes a little bit snowy, and families want to celebrate Christmas. So this is not a good option to do public viewing outside. I told you we like to drink hot, we call this Glühwein, hot red wine with herbs in it. So we heat up red wine and put herbs in it and drink it. This is what we're doing for Christmas market. And, this is really not connected to soccer. So it is a very bad thing. And on the other side, on the flip side, so in Qatar, it's hot. No people like to go there. They have a strict alcohol rule. So they have no alcohol inside the arena. And you can drink alcohol outside of the arena. But I'm sorry, soccer is very deeply connected to drinking alcohol, so beer, and so this is why not many fans will most likely go over to Qatar to follow the games. I think many Europeans, just follow the games on TV. And on the other side, you all know, and we discussed this in class, about the problems with Qatar, migrants and refugees and all these bad things happening there. So many, many Europeans even don't like Qatar as maybe a hosting country for the World Cup. And it's not a big football country. So to be honest, I don't know anyone who is going over to Qatar, and that means a lot. So it's not a good deal. And you have to think about, it's your American football season, you know? They are playing American football regular season games during the Football World Cup. That's not a good deal. And most of the people think Fox, you know, got the broadcasting rights for the Football World Cup 2022 because, for the Football World Cup 2026 in the US because they cover this very unloved World Cup 2022. So they made an assignment, a deal with covering the Football World Cup 2022 and 2026 in the US. And I think in November, December, they will not get very good quotes for the Football World Cup in the US. Bad time zone. Yeah, so it's a big impact on this. On the other hand, you know, sometimes you have to get these big media events to countries where they have never been. In my opinion, you have to get the Olympic Games one time to Africa. They have never been to Africa. So you have to do this, even if some of the disciplines during the Olympic Games are not based in Africa. So, but you have to do this.
Has secondary fandom been looked at through the lens of individual athletes as opposed to who they are associated with by national?
So we just proved it for national teams, for national teams and franchises. So we proved secondary fandom for the Football World Cup 2018, and afterwards for the Super Bowl, I think it was 2019 or 2020, I can't remember exactly. So we proved it for teams, but I think there is definitely something like secondary fandom if you think of tennis. You know, if your player loses the first round in tennis, you may follow another player who's beating this opponent who puts your player out in the first round. But we never proved this. This will be interesting. Yes. Sure.
Lines from collegiate following to professional. So whether it's individual athletes, so you think of they played at your university where you went, so they're one player, you've gone on, your team lost, and you have one tie back to your university, and you're following that player all the way through.
Another good question. We didn't prove this. So I'm an academic, so I can give you a correct answer because we never proved if there are connections to the universities and you follow your alumni or something like this. But I definitely think there will be. So I definitely think you will follow your alumni of your university playing for a franchise in the NBA or in the NFL. So what I experienced in Indiana was all these students can tell me, okay, this is the team where an Indiana IU alumni is playing right now in the NFL. So there is I think there are strong ties, but we never proved it. So I'm a little bit, I think it is, but I can't say you definitely, I have no data on this.
Even though that the World Cup is in Qatar this year, when we play England on Thanksgiving Day, do you think that'll be the most watched United States soccer match in history?
Ever? I've never been in the US for Thanksgiving. I don't know really what is happening Thanksgiving. I thought it might be a day where you celebrate with your family, eating and drinking and not following football. Oh, watching American football. So I don't think it is, or let me say it this way, it will be tough for soccer, competing to American football and your family. So I don't think it will be a very, very big game. But, I don't know. I can't predict the future. And maybe, if they are playing very, very good, maybe, there's a wave upcoming, I don't know. But right now, I think the last game of the US team during the Football World Cup 2010 was, I think, the most watched football game for men. But your women's team is way better in following numbers and everything, so follow them. Pardon?
We're talking back here about what they're competing against at Thanksgiving, and that because of time zones, they'll be playing at like 9 in the morning. So they're actually not competing against football.
Oh.
They're competing against the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. So
The what? The
the
meat?
Macy's Thanksgiving Parade.
I don't know this.
It's a big deal.
It's a big parade?
It's a big parade that they play on the TV stations. It's what's on in the background when you're making your Thanksgiving turkey, but not everyone loves to watch it.
I think ask your students at UNL. So I think, are you interested in the parade or in soccer? So if this is the competition between a parade and soccer, you know, you don't have to ask any European, African, or Asian, so they are all deeply in soccer, but you hear this, you know. And we are talking about football because you get the next Football World Cup 2026, and this will be the biggest event ever in the US. 16 different cities, big, big arenas, millions of fans coming over to the US doing holidays and following this game. So a big, big opportunity for you students to work and to do something with the Football World Cup. So this will be big. I know now several guys, friends of mine, who will do holidays in 2026 in the US because of the Football World Cup. Questions? Drinks and beer? Okay. Thanks a lot for having me.